Hello and happy Wednesday. And I hope it's a happy day for you. I know it's kind of a sad day for the United States today. And I hope this video cheers you up. And I hope it cheers me up. But let's go back in time. Let's get out of 2025 for a little while. And let's go back to 1990, February 19th. And see what was happening in the world with this issue of Time magazine. And on the back, we have an ad for Chevy, the heartbeat of America, and the Chevy Astro. And if you were a kid of my generation, this is a familiar sight. This was a very popular family vehicle. On the cover, we have freedom for Mandela, Nelson Mandela, who was released from prison in South Africa. And we have a picture of Mikhail Gorbachev on the cover. And it says, starting over, Gorbachev turns his back on Lenin, which is like saying turns his back on communism, socialism, is the idea of that. This is close to the end of the Soviet Union. Here is an ad for the revolutionary Gillette sensor, and I still have this very razor in my bathroom. I bought this razor the day before I shipped off to boot camp, and I still have it, and it still works perfect. And you can still get heads for it. It is a great razor. It was well made, as many things were well made back then, and then things were built to last. But I got this razor in this exact package, and I used it all through my Air Force time, and I still have it today. So I got no complaints about the Gillette sensor. There's another ad for Chevy, and let's read it. This is the Chevy Lumina. No car in the world starts with two-sided galvanized steel and a primer that's more rust-resistant than the Chevrolet Lumina coupes. Most cars don't provide the extra rust protection of galvanized steel on outside surfaces. Chevy does. On every Corsica, Beretta, and Lumina sedan and coupe, nobody can beat it. Not even Mother Nature at her worst. When it comes to fighting corrosion, nobody's winning like the heartbeat of America. And the heartbeat of America was their slogan they used throughout the 80s and 90s to sort of tap into the America pride that was prevalent at that time. Starting in 1986 with Reagan at his peak and the renovation of the Statue of Liberty started a huge Russia patriotism, and Born in the USA and lots of songs like that were making people proud. And here is about the Soviet Union. The Gorbachev revolution finally comes home. The Soviet leader ends 7 decades of communist monopoly, and 1990 may go down as the most important year in Soviet history since 1917. And the other top story was freedom for Nelson Mandela pushes South Africa into uncharted waters. We got some articles here. A business article about GM sliding at home but soaring in Europe. The AIDS children of Romania, talking about the AIDS epidemic, which was widely talked about during the 80s. This was, you don't hear about AIDS that much now, but in the 80s, you couldn't go a day without seeing something about it in the paper or magazine. Religion, is Mario Cuomo going to hell? He was the governor of New York at that time. I think the Cuomo family has a monopoly on that. Here's when they started moving museums away from exhibits to hands-on things to get children more interested, and now many museums have taken that model. The nuking of America's palates. Microwave ovens do not kill food. It is the people who use them. Zappity-doo-dah. Cooking means farewell to the old-time grilled cheese sandwich. Is a crunchy bagel also an endangered species? Well, obviously it's not. John Goodman, scene stealer. Without skipping a beat as Roseanne Barr's husband on TV's top-rated sitcom, he has emerged as the hottest character actor in Hollywood. The big guy is on a roll, and still on a roll today. I'm happy to see John Goodman just wrapped up The Righteous Gemstones. John Goodman is a household word, more than a character actor. He's kind of like family to a lot of Americans. And Thomas Rowlandson's drawings and watercolors at the Frick Collection in New York City are friezes of dense and rowdy life in gaming room and salon. So we have an ad for Marlboro Lights here. And in typical Marlboro fashion, there's some cowboys wearing the suede coats, which was the popular cowboy look at this time. It changed to dusters a few years later. And then we get the Surgeon General's warning. Here, introducing the sedan that makes sense no matter where you sit. Wow. Look at this. This is the Dodge Monaco. And look at this photo. Look at that beautiful 1990s piece of engineering. And there is an unscratched offer to go to Monaco with the Dodge Monaco sweepstakes. And these have never been scratched. So this magazine is practically untouched. Okay. We got some letters for regarding the last issue. Talking about whatever topics were in the last issue. NRA was a topic and so forth. Here's an ad for Dun & Bradstreet. Credit managers don't like to break hearts, but sometimes our salespeople just ask for it. They pin their hopes on a new account. Then later they ask me for a DMB. That's too late, I tell them. Customers are like sweethearts. Learn all you can before you get involved. There was a long campaign of these quotes like this that Saturday Night Live loved to make fun of. They also did these on TV where they would show a Dun & Bradstreet agent saying all of this philosophical jargon. And then Saturday Night Live would have a guy look just like that with inside the dark room, and he would just say this obvious stuff that was funny. Here's an ad for HBO, and it says, Cruise with Hoffman in Rain Man this February. This February, Rain Man will be heading your way with Academy Awards for Best Picture, Actor, Director, and Original Screenplay. This is one movie you won't want to miss, so tune in to HBO and don't let Rain Man pass you by. You would never see that today. Here's an interesting letter. Almost Civil War. Mikhail Gorbachev faces apparently endless troubles in Azerbaijan with the Muslims battling Armenian Christians. History has shown that there is nothing worse than a religious war or persecution. The wounds are deep and do not heal easily. I'm afraid that the genial leader of the Soviet Union is in for a long and beleaguered time. And then it says the Communist Party tried to kill nationalism with repression, and now it is paying for a mistake it made decades ago. We are witnessing disintegration within the USSR because of a nationalistic fervor with a strong call for freedom that is sweeping across the republics. Unfortunately, the demand has turned to violence in Armenia and Azerbaijan. This is a delicate time for not only for Gorbachev and perestroika, but also the world. Yeah, this is foreshadowing as the Soviet Union was embroiled in all of these issues, including not just Azerbaijan, but also recovering from the war in Afghanistan. And the disaster at Chernobyl, that's pretty much what did it in. And it fell apart. Beauty and the Beast is an anti-forest fire ad here. The match. Another Dun and Bradstreet. Why perestroika cannot succeed. A communist reformer before it was fashionable. Yugoslavia's Milovan Teulis believes Gorbachev's changes are irreversible, but his attempts to fix communism will fail. This is all foreshadow for what would happen soon. Ford, quality is job one. Look at that old car. What does $1 billion look like? And they show some different objects that are supposedly worth $1 million. This is an ad for Hilton, which was a very classy hotel in 1990. To put it in perspective for you, now today when you're traveling and you pick a hotel to stay at for the night, you can choose a Hampton or a Hilton Garden Inn or Holiday Inn or Holiday Inn Express or whatever. And they all kind of look the same now. I mean, they all have the same type of room. You go into the same shaped building with the elevator in the same place. You go up to your room with the same high thread count, bedspread, nice comfortable sheets and everything. But at this time, though, Hilton was a luxury hotel, and no one really just stayed at a Hilton unless they had lots of money. And most of the time, people, middle-class people, stayed at Ramada Inn or Holiday Inn. Sometimes we stayed at Motel 6 or Super 8. And when I was a kid in this time, you know, it was rare if we stayed anything nicer than a Ramada, because hotels, you know, that was a big expense. You got to figure an annual income. And this time was, if you made $40,000, that was equivalent to over $100,000 now. Typically people made around $20,000 a year, but to stay at a Hilton would be over $100 a night. And staying at a Motel 6 back then, $10, $15, $20 a night. Those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men have died to win them. And we always forget that. Human nature forgets that. Until we have another war, and then we remember, and then we forget again. And then we just wash, rinse, repeat. Undoing Lenin's legacy. In his boldest stroke yet, Gorbachev diminishes the power of the party and consolidates his own. The Gorbachev resolution came home last week. Many of the words and images were familiar from last year's upheavals in Eastern Europe, but the setting was new. At the geographical and political center of the communist world. This time it was not in Prague, Budapest, or Leipzig, but in Moscow that citizens thronged to the streets with banners that could be loosely translated, "Throw the bums out." This time it was in the Kremlin that the bums themselves seemed to take heed. The custodians of absolute power began the process of giving it up. And this time Mikhail Sergeyevich, the Commissar Liberator, was not somewhere over the horizon letting it all happen. He was on the podium making it happen. So we're seeing the beginnings of the end of the Soviet Union here. This is the image we always had of the Soviet Union at this time. This was the Cold War. So here in America, we had the image of the women with the babushkas and the men with those fur hats standing in a line to get necessities and so forth. That's what it was like as a kid in the Cold War. More news about the Soviet Union. They even have the little sickle and hammer here indicating that it's Soviet news. General Secretary, President. General Secretary of the party, President of the country. There's a distinction. The party and the country are two separate things. And it was, they, when I was a kid at least, and this may be naive sounding, but I was always told at least that the fall of the Soviet Union started when the first McDonald's appeared. And that was in the 80s. Reagan was a crafty president, and he advertised capitalism as a desirable, happy thing, like a party, and they were successful at making it appear so much better than what the Soviets had, and more and more the desire for democracy and capitalism set in. And now, as you know, Russia is no longer a communist country. Once upon a time, communism claimed to be the future. How Lenin's party rose to power and then disintegrated in the century's most gripping tale. I'm not going to get into a lot about the merits or the deficits of communism, simply because this is about as political as I get on my channel. I will read you what was happening, talk to you from the perspective of a kid in the 90s, but I'm not going to grade or evaluate any of these political principles, simply because this is a neutral channel. A great day for Germany. The Berlin Wall had come down 2 years before this. Not even. Less than 2 years. Here is an ad for a beer that I don't think exists anymore. It's called Miller Sharps. A new brewing breakthrough gives Miller Sharps real beer taste in a non-alcoholic brew. Oh, that was what it was. It was the non-alcoholic beer. Yeah. I never understood what the point of that was. I guess maybe for designated drivers so they could pretend like they were drinking with everybody. When I was a kid, though, I always heard that there was a kind of a trick that kids would use, is they would order, what was that, O'Doul's or whatever the non-alcoholic beer was, and then and the adult would order, like some Bud Light, and then they would switch the pitchers. And that was a common way for kids to drink beer. Here is Mandela and F.W. de Klerk in Cape Town. De Klerk, I mean. When Mandela was released from prison, he would go on to become the president of South Africa. That was a big deal when that happened. He was on American TV. He came to America, and it was... There's Jesse Jackson hugging him. I remember everyone in America seemed pretty happy that Mandela was freed. I remember even being, back here in Alabama with my grandfather from the old days, being happy. I think everybody felt like it was a good thing. We thought that was progress. And here is The Rich Taste of Victory. Maxwell House over Folgers. And of those two coffees, which one would I pick? I don't drink either one of them, but I have drank them both in the past. Both of these are what I call office coffees. Like if there's an office, there would be a gigantic plastic can of one of these coffees, that goes into that old dirty coffee maker. But I would pick Maxwell House. It's about as political as I might get. In the diet, it's all in the family. The prevalence of second-generation politicians raises fears that politics is being restricted in an elite kinship network. Fighting for Kashmir. Dirty Little Secret. A plan for cutting Social Security taxes exposes the true size of the deficit, which we all know now is huge. Return of the Watergate Doctrine. The Iran-Contra heavies awaiting history's judgment. Reagan. Poindexter. Oliver North. Secord and Hinkham. I don't think the judgment's been all that harsh. Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year has the extraordinary performance and styling it takes to satisfy even the most demanding driving enthusiast. Here's an ad for Nissan. Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year sets the Turbo Z apart from other cars. And look at that beautiful piece of 90s engineering. Here's an ad for Now cigarettes in comparison to Carlton, Kent, Merit, or True. And all I can tell you about these cigarettes, because I don't smoke, is that my grandma smoked Merits, and these all look like brands that elderly people smoked. Young people always seem to smoke Marlboro or Camel. Young people who were in between paychecks smoked Doral or GPCs. I only saw old people smoke these. Let's see. A break in law enforcement becomes a citizen's nightmare. 200 million Soviet citizens listened to this man. Dr. Robert Schuller became the first foreigner in the history of the Soviet Union to be invited to preach on Soviet television to that nation. Hour of Power. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but I think it's probably religious. But I'm not sure. Considering the Soviet Union was supposed to be an atheist country, maybe it wasn't. Here's for the kid and all of us. You may take Dr. Seuss's latest romp in your choice of any 3 books for $1 each, plus any fourth for $4.99. No obligation to buy any more books. This is the Book of the Month Club. You could always tell books of the month because they had the rough cut pages, whereas if you went to a bookstore you'd find the same book but the pages would be cut smooth. So some of all the books that were popular in the 90s, there's Larry McMurtry, Some Can Whistle, Long Gray Line, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, SOB, George Burns' All My Best Friends. I liked that book. John le Carre, The Russia House, made into a Sean Connery movie. Drawing of the Three by Stephen King. A James Herriot book. The Market Square Dog. Dr. Spock. The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. Salman Rushdie, The Satanic Verses. Minotaur by Stephen Kuntz. A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Tom Clancy, Clear and Present Danger. Stephen King, The Dark Half. Caribbean by James Michener. Let's see, a seaside chat about drugs. The Andean Summit's main agenda will be saving wounded egos. Hi, Trixie. She's really excited because I got a magazine here, and she loves magazines. Here's an ad for the Acura, another 90s car. The Acura Legend. Okay. Bleak Days for Covenant House. The founder of a program for troubled teens is forced out. Oops. She loves starting my videos. Okay, let me keep doing my video, Trixie. Okay. Here. Okay. Okay, Trixie. She just wants to come star in the video a little bit. That's what she likes to do. She likes to star in the video. She also knows it's been a rough day and she's trying to cheer us all up. Okay. Some book reviews. Some forged coins in Japan. Okay. You want to see everyone your pretty face? Look at that pretty face. Show everyone your pretty face. Trixie, show everybody your pretty face. Okay. All right. Let's do some flips, Trixie. Why don't you flip off the magazine for a second? Okay. Let me. Okay. Now, here. Okay, here we have about the Cuomo bishops, politician, and the abortion crisis. So another thing I'm probably not going to go into a lot of detail on. The tragedy of AIDS in Romania. It's a very sad picture. Here's an ad for the Ford Escort. Laundry list takes its imports to the cleaners. Okay. Okay. Here is an ad for imported Tanqueray Sterling vodka. Children's museums showing how they started to become interactive. Now many of them are like this now. Time of the Gypsies, directed by Emir Kusturica. A movie. A federal judge knocks down Arizona's English-only law. Here's an ad for a Mercury Topaz. The Jane Austen speeches. Peggy Noonan. And we get some ads for allergy relief. A requiem for grilled cheese, talking about that whole microwave thing. Here's an ad for the Civil War Time Life books. I have a lot of these, and you would get a free one, Brother Against Brother. I have a collection of these. I don't have Brother Against Brother, but I have quite a few of them. Wait a minute. I do have Brother Against Brother. This is it was very much like the Old West set. It was like the leathery cover, and really one of my favorite sets of books. I have a bunch of these, but this was the free one you would get if you ordered the set. And it talks all about the beginnings of the Civil War. A really good book. I really do enjoy my Time Life books. I have all kinds of sets of them. And really, really do enjoy reading these. Learn a lot about history. Yeah, so I guess I did have that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed Trixie. She was most of the video. The rest of the magazine, there was a Norelco shaver ad, and there was an article about John Goodman. Look how young he was. And Wrigley's spearmint ad. And it's a little connect the dots drawing. So that was Time from 1990. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed Trixie. I hope you don't feel like there's too much Trixie in the videos, or you don't feel like there's too much me in the videos and not enough Trixie. Try to get that ratio as good as I can. So, anyway, I hope you like my channel. Please consider subscribing, clicking the bell icon. Leave me a comment, a thumbs up. And until next time, bye.